Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel, and thank you so much for tuning in. Today, I have Ben. He is a PA in urology who has graciously allowed to volunteered his time to join us today and answer some questions. Make sure you drop a comment if you are watching so that if you have a question, we will do our best to answer it. But Ben, how are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Glad to spend this Saturday afternoon with you and your viewers. I'm glad to be invited here for today, and hopefully our discussion is informative and entertaining for the folks watching.
And make sure that you check out Ben. You are primarily on Instagram, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so make sure you check out Ben, that you follow him. He has 10.5 followers on Instagram, and he posts some pretty funny and educational content on his page, which is actually how we crossed paths. I think I saw one of your Bad Bunny. You were posting when the patient speaks Bad Bunny Spanish or something like that, right?
Yeah. Yes. It's humor and medicine can go intertwined, and I think it's a good way for us to connect with each other.
Yep. All right. So tell us a little bit about your background and how you ended up becoming a PA.
Sure. So I am in Georgia. I've been a PA for the last 7.5 years. It literally feels like yesterday. I've been practicing specifically in urology that entire time. I went to school in Duke, North Carolina. It took me pretty much most of my training to figure out what specialty I wanted to end up in. But after I graduated, I knew I wanted to be in urology, and I had some flexibility. I mean, I'm from up north, so I didn't have too many strong roots or ties to the state. So I said, you know what, I just want to go to wherever I feel has the best fit for me in urology. Almost ended up on the West Coast, ended up in the Atlanta area basically for the last 7.5 years, and I've enjoyed to call it home. It's been an incredible journey, and it still continues.
Fantastic. And what made you choose the PA route instead of MD or NP? And also tell us a little bit about what the educational background to become a PA, because I think a lot of people have that question.
Sure, I'll chime in first about the educational background of becoming a PA. There's some variation between programs. There's a lot of programs in the United States, and they're all based about a 2, sometimes 3 year programs where you get your master's. Some of them will have like a research component. You may get your PhD, but generally they're a 2 year graduate program where you get your master's afterwards. You'll have a didactic portion for the first year where you cram in a lot of medical knowledge as much as you can, and then you'll have your second year, your clinical rotations, in a similar structure to medical school, but I would not say it comes close to being an alternative. But a lot of these PA programs were trained alongside our medical students. So from there, it's the goal is seemingly just to get you comfortable and competent enough to receive further education in the field within whatever specialty you end up going for. So that's where the variations between different programs, they can differ on what their objectives are, but that's roughly the structure of the education. You finish your bachelor's, there's a lot of post-bac courses people can do. Clinical education hours are important to community service, letters of recommendation, a lot of variation with routine, but those are the routes to get into PA school.
And because NP school is very different from PA school, so I don't know too much about PA, actually, like the PA path. So do you get a selection or a choice on where you do your, what we call clinicals? I don't know what your rotations.
Yes, you do. So there's a few courses. The majority will be kind of automatic that you have to do, like internal medicine. You'll have to do surgery rotation, family medicine, emergency medicine as well. And then depending on the program that you'll have, sometimes it's 2 to 3 months of rotations where you get to choose which field you want, like your own elective. Urology was one of my electives, and it was the first rotation that I had, and it really set the tone for the rest of my clinical year. But it's nice that you do get the option to try to find out what you like and don't like.
Perfect. Yeah, I didn't know that. And because for NPs, sometimes what we have to do is we have to go back to school for specialties. So for there's a million track. It feels like there's a million tracks for NPs, whereas it feels like PA, it's kind of like you get through it and then you're done, right? You don't have to keep going back if you want to. But then are you stuck in that specialty, right? Is that kind of how it works?
Not necessarily. There is a lot of mobility, a lot of lateral mobility. And with regards to after you finish your program, there are some residency programs where some folks, if they so desire, they can get an extra year of dedicated surgical training or some hands-on training in the field that they're looking into. Those can be helpful, but that's really person specific, and there's not too many of them. I did consider a surgical surgical residency after school, but didn't end up going down that route. I have no regrets for it, but I know plenty of people that have gone into those residency programs and really enjoyed the progress that they made. A lot, they're working resident hours, but you're also getting resident skill set and training too. So there are plenty of options for folks to really refine their skills more in a formal setting after they graduate.
And so I have a friend who works with a urologist. So PAs can also work in primary care, right? So I think, and she's also very happy. So I think that a little pearl of wisdom for some individuals might be that I feel from what I've seen is that people that do tend to specialize versus not saying if you love primary that don't go into it, but people that are in specialties, sometimes you get more time with patients per visit versus primary care. It's like 15, get moving, move. And then you see a wide array of conditions with primary care versus with specialties. Like the name implies, you can specialize, and then you kind of get in your role and you feel confident, you know what you're seeing, and it's a slightly more predictable versus primary care where you just don't know what you're going to walk into that day.
Exactly. With PAs, we have like a lot of that lateral mobility too. So it's nice that if I wanted to, there's no credentialing that I need to jump from one specialty to another, especially as a new grad. Even if you're not in the same specialty, you want to switch gears. Just having a year of experience in something is already going to put you in a great advantage versus others. Like I said before, I'm in a very specialized, surgical subspecialty. I love it. I have no desire to switch. If I had to, I'd be a little bit anxious too, because I feel like I found my select skills, my niche, if you will. And but again, there's plenty of roles with what you want to find. I know plenty of folks that went from emergency medicine to surgery, or they went from dermatology to pulmonology, outpatient, inpatient, telemedicine too. So it is nice that you can have a wide berth, but there can be some challenges too to completely change course of your ship.
Responding to Jorge, who's watching from Chile. Let me add his comment here. Hola, Jorge, ¿cómo estás? And Ben, you speak a little bit of Spanish.
Sí, estoy mejorando mi español, Jorge. Mucho gusto.
And we have Jaime, who said, as a urology patient, I find the presentation to be very interesting and highly informative. Thank you for watching. It's since I am everything, it's hard to run the show. So I'm like typing and I can't talk as I type.
Not a problem. Multitasking can be tough.
Okay, so let's see. What surprised you the most about being a PA once you actually started practicing?
I would definitely say realizing how much you don't know. Yes, in PA school, we get a lot of testing, certification, exams, where it can be a grueling curriculum. And then after a while, you start to build your confidence too in the didactic phase and the clinical phase too. But once you're in the real world, it's the real thing. You're not just going by the book. The stakes are a lot higher too. It can be very difficult and stressful in those new grad years. And there's always still this lifelong learning that we have, but it was difficult for me to come to grips with, my decisions now have some serious ramifications. And luckily, you just have to find the right support system to circumvent that. But yeah, it was surprising and tough very early on for me just to get confident in my skill set.
Yeah, there's always a learning curve. I think in whatever area of healthcare that you are, and being in healthcare, we have to adopt that learner's mindset that we're forever learning, and actually that's very important to have that mindset and not ever get to a point where you're like, oh, I know everything. That's people that like providers that believe they know everything. I feel a little bit apprehensive of them taking care of me. Let's see. What do you wish PA students knew before entering the profession?
Before entering the profession, I would just say there can be, and not a lot of people will know what we are, even after explaining to them. You can even have patients that have seen you for years, and you explain to them, I'm not this particular title. I'm not one of the doctors or the surgeons. I'm a PA. This is my role. And some folks, friends and families still may not know exactly what it is. So if you're looking for big titles or the allure, you probably aren't going to get it. But if you're looking for a role where you can contribute to the positive aspects of someone's life and being able to provide good quality care, it's a fantastic role for it. And that's why I think folks should look into that profession if that's what they're looking to seek to fulfill their own life.
Yeah, there's a lot of opportunity, whether PA and P, I mean, healthcare in general, there's just so many opportunities and venues. And like you said, there's an opportunity for lateral movement. So, I was going to say something else, but I lost my train of thought. What skills do you think matter most as a PA beyond medical knowledge?
Beyond medical knowledge is showing empathy. There are a lot of things that we can do that patients and people are much more or as appreciative to than just the medical recommendation that you give them. A lot of times we already have a set plan. There may be nothing changing to a patient's treatment regimen, but they're just wanting to make sure that their voice is heard, that they're being listened to, that if there's a problem, even outside of your own control, that someone is there for them and advocating for them too as well. So being able to just, yes, while there is a patient provider role, but maintaining that person to person role, I think is really important. And that can really make your own work a lot more fulfilling and get you through those tougher encounters as well.
Yeah, I completely agree. And what does career growth look like for you as a PA long term? Are you looking to stay where you currently are? Do you have any plans for the future?
I mean, folks in general, there can be a little bit of a cap. I mean, it depends on what location you're at and what your own goals are. For myself, I'm in a good position. I'm in a great team, a great facility, good support from my team. I feel like I'm developing my skill set in the clinic and in the operating room too. And it took me a while. It took me a few position job changes to find that right fit. And now I'm in the place where it feels like home. So even the thought of jumping ship is not anywhere close to my mind. Keeping things open for the future, which is good to know that there's flexibility. But I'm happy right now because I have a good place to call home.
And that is amazing. That's fantastic because finding a healthy work environment can be challenging.
Yeah, yeah. It can be tough where if you're in tough environments, and we may touch the topic later on, but if you're waking up that morning and you're just dreading some aspect of your particular work, you're already on the back pedal for that rest of that day. So it's a blessing to have something where you're up and there might be some challenges, but you're equipped to handle them head on.
And I actually had that thought the other day. So I transitioned so I'm a family nurse practitioner and currently I'm teaching. And this is one job where it's like I'm not rushing to get out the door at the end of the day. So when I'm leaving, sometimes students they'll come talk to me and I'm, and it was a nice feeling to know, you know what, I'm here longer than I need to be because I want to be here. So it's nice to not have a job where you're just like dreading the hours and looking towards the end of the day.
Yeah.
Not sure if this is applicable, but how do you advocate for yourself in the workplace as a PA?
I think one being able to stand up for yourself. There's professional ways that you can do it. If there's something that makes you feel uncomfortable, voice it. Yes, we have, there's, situations where you're having managers and coworkers that can look after it for you. But I think just being able to feel empowered and knowing that if you're in a situation that you feel like this is not a good environment for me, knowing that you can speak up and at least try to do something about it. And yes, there's some things with logistics and changing jobs can be very scary, but knowing that you will eventually find a place where you feel accepted and you feel happy too. So you do not have to settle. I think the biggest thing is just knowing that there are other options out there. You just have to be willing to take that chance for your own happiness.
What is one thing you love about being a PA and one thing that you find challenging?
One thing I love about being a PA are the patients. Like I said before, with showing empathy, it's not just patient provider; it's people to people, person to person. And I've met a lot of great folks in the process of giving them quality care, and you learn from other people too. We see a lot of things that are unfortunate, sad stories, when we treat sick folks, not everyone has a positive outcome. But you can still learn a lot from those folks too in their outlook and how they handle adversity. Developing relationships with people that you see over the course of years too, even if it's just purely within the clinic as well. Those really have added more value to my life, and I hope I'm able to do my part and give them quality care and give them that positive impact they've given to me. So it's been nice to have a role where you can interact with such amazing people on a regular basis.
Hmm. Do you consider yourself more of an extrovert versus introvert?
I would say it's situational. I mean, I do consider myself a natural introvert. I love my own free time. But
Hmm.
it has been a nice challenge and a nice journey to experience the extrovert side. I feel like there's a benefit to experience both sides of our personality. So not trying to cap myself if I don't need to.
Yeah, the reason why I ask is because I feel like if for people that are more extroverted, the patient day-to-day interaction can recharge their batteries versus I'm definitely more of an introvert. So at the end of the day, I start to feel like drained. Like by the time I get home, I'm just drained. Like I don't want to talk to anybody else after the end of a workday of seeing patients. Uh, so you are also into powerlifting.
Yes.
And how did you get into that?
Well, as I was starting my career, I realized how stressful the job can be in different roles that I had. And one thing I needed, I realized I was just carrying stress on myself, not taking care of myself. Sleep was terrible. Eating was not really great. I needed some outlook. I was, grew up as more of a runner. I did a lot of cross country, long distance or racing too. But after a while, my knees just kind of couldn't really tolerate it too well. So ultimately, when I moved to Atlanta, I found a really great local powerlifting gym, and it was exactly what I needed. Even after an awful 14-hour day that was just really super stressful, just being able to leave out all the stress in some form of exercise was fantastic for me, and I'm still happy that I'm still able to walk in and able to continue this endeavor until I choose some other type of way to be active.
Philip is asking, what is powerlifting?
Powerlifting is just basically gym bros that we have found ways to make lifting heavy weights in a very competitive way. So they're more akin to Olympic weightlifting. They're focused on particular lifts, the squat, bench, and deadlift. It's a fun community, not big in the weight room experience, but it's an enjoyable. If people want to get into it, it's a very open, welcoming sport.
And did I see this? I think I saw something on your story where are you going to be attending like powerlifting competitions?
Yeah, I've done a few kind of local meets. Nothing. It's just nice to kind of have a goal. It's nice to have a life outside of medicine too. And I sort of like the structure, not just with our training and our medical specialties, but I also just like having some goals outside of work that help me focus. I'm doing something for a long period of time. I might as well, try to get some hardware out of it and see what might test my metal. So yeah, I have a few couple of competitions coming up this year.
All right, well, good luck in those competitions.
Thank you.
For me, I agree that it is so important to have something out that work cannot be your whole life. And that for me, it's yoga. So I do a lot of hot yoga, Pilates, especially with my autoimmune condition. I can't do too heavy lifting because it's really a lot of strain on my joints. So having something that you can do that is a positive coping strategy outside of work is so beneficial because at the end of the day, working out, it's not just about the physical outcomes, but also the mental outcomes.
Yeah, everyone needs some outlet too. If you can't hold on to your stress, it's not good for you, and ultimately your performance will suffer, and then people will suffer from it too. So whether it's getting out and moving, listening to music, watching movies, just find something and try to maintain it and have it be sustainable for you too.
And that's essentially what you. I feel like you've already touched on this, but the next question I had was, have you noticed that powerlifting affects how you show up as a provider?
Probably just another conversation starter, but if anything, it helps me realize, what you put in is going to affect your output. So just like with our medical training, you have to put the hours in, you got to put the training in, you got to do your research, and then you're able to apply that and improve your surgical skills, your medical aptitude. Same like lifting. You have to make sure you're getting your rest. You have to make sure that you're progressing, knowing exactly what you're doing, so you're not just in this vicious cycle of going nowhere. So it is nice to see that there are some aspects of both that I'm able to improve each other.
Mm-hmm. And yes, so a lot of things that we learn, like I was an athlete in my younger years, a lot of those traits, I guess, that you learn from sports carrying into life in general, and just the discipline sometimes that it takes to keep juggling all those balls that we have to juggle when you're in healthcare and when you have a life outside of your job. So just a fun question. What is your favorite lift and why?
I would probably say deadlift's my favorite lift. It tends to be a more naturally stacked for it. My stronger lift by far, but I just feel how grounded, quite literally, the lift feels. I feel more connected to the ground. It just feels like more of a natural movement, and it's nice just being able to put the most weight and move something too. That's definitely my favorite lift by far.
I know what a deadlift is, and I do like deadlifts. They're a good exercise.
Yeah.
We've talked about exercise, but is there any other way you decompress after hard clinical days?
For me, it's talking with folks outside of medicine and not talking about anything regarding medicine too. While respect to my work friends, sometimes we can get wrapped up in our work and you hang out with other medicine folks and healthcare workers, and we still can't shut off the brain too. So I always have a way that when I leave work, I leave my work and stress at the hospital, and just try to find somewhere and talk with my friends, family, just express different parts of my brain too. And also some Netflix and dinner is can never really hurt anybody either.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Have you ever felt burned out, and how did you work through it?
Yeah, I mean it's something that still can creep its way up if I'm not managing stress appropriately too. And sometimes it creeps up without you noticing until you're just realizing I'm just really burnt out. Whether it be the stress of a job, learning new skill sets, worried that, like I was saying before, that you might cause some serious harm. You need to watch out for particular signs. If you're noticing your routine's off, if you're not taking care of yourself, errors at work, those are signs that you could be dealing with burnout. One thing for me, like I said before, is just finding some type of outlet, being able to just relieve my stress, just so I can separate my mind from whatever this tailspin that it's in. And then from there, finding out, okay, what can be done? Is there anything that do I need to change my environment? Do I need to voice my concerns to my superiors? Talk with my coworkers if they're the cause of it too. But it can be a huge detriment if folks aren't able to deal with burnout.
And well, that is the segue into the next few set of questions. But I have noticed that another way that you decompress or avoid burnout is travel. You do travel a lot. It feels like every other week you're somewhere new.
Use time efficiency, using that sweet PTO drop by drop. Yes, I love to travel. I kind of more of a late bloomer. I didn't start really until my healthcare career, and I remember it was one point I had a few extra days off for Thanksgiving. It was my first 4 day break off since starting my job, and I realized, wow, by the second or third day, I'm like, goodness, I feel so much more amazing too. I need to actually do something with this PTO, not just let it sit and bank on it. I love travel. Like I said before, it's a nice way where you get away from this clinical setting. You get to really feel yourself without any other distractions. There's a lot more clarity too, and it's a privilege that we all get to have, and it's something that I try to make the most of. I appreciate every second that where I'm away.
I love traveling as well, and it's so important to me that I would rather take a pay cut but have more time off than, I mean, ideally if you can have pay and time off, but I rather have make less but have more PTO or more vacation time, because and it's just so fascinating. Like traveling is so fascinating. You meet different cultures, you learn new things. I see you love food, so you can try new food. I'm more restricted because I'm a vegan, but you get to try new foods and interact with and music. Like it's just travel is fascinating to me. What is your favorite place you have traveled so far?
I don't know if I can answer that. I think there's something I've experienced that I pulled from everywhere that I've been, whether it be South America or Europe. I feel like every trip that I go to, there's 10 moments that some smell of you going through a market or some sound that I hear or outside, and it'll take me back to that vacation too. It's not to be competitive, but it's just to appreciate every single opportunity that I have. So I haven't really had a place that I regret, and I like going back to the places that I've enjoyed, but I still want to keep exploring and find, where feels like home the most outside of my own town.
Mhm. Yeah, I don't think, I mean, obviously I'm biased because I'm Colombian, but but yeah, it's hard to pinpoint just one place that you're like, oh, it's my favorite. So there's just a lot of beauty in the world. How do you, well, you already answered that, use your PTO for how do you make time for travel with a busy schedule? Let's see, is there a destination that changed how you see life or work?
A particular destination, just having some bias, having gone to Colombia a lot too, and in South America in general. I just love the general population, very warm, welcoming folks too, especially in the process of trying to improve my Spanish. As a foreigner, sometimes you can feel like when you're when your travels, you're kind of walking on eggshells, looking after customs and making sure you're staying on the right side of people, the perception of the locals. But every single time I go, I'm like, I would move here if I could. Maybe I should have just bought a one-way ticket too. Uh, every time I go back, I have to come back three more times.
And a few wrap-up questions. What advice would you give someone considering becoming a PA?
I would say just make sure up front, as best as you can, knowing what you want out of it, how it can serve you. PA, we wear a lot of hats, and our work. One thing I love about in urology, we do that. I'm in a gig where there's a clinic component where I'm talking with patients throughout the day. I have a hospital portion where you're dealing with a lot of sick patients. There's telemed where we're dealing with patients remotely, as well as the big part of my job is the surgical aspect, getting to work with my hands, work with the OR teams and the surgeon. I love that team aspect. So if you're in a spot where you're looking for, I want to help people, I want to work in a collaborative environment, have some autonomy for themselves, if those are things that you're looking for, then I think a PA route is something for you to consider. Not the end all be all, but just really making it firm as you can to know, what am I trying to get out of this?
And what advice would you give healthcare professionals struggling with stress or burnout?
I feel like just taking yourself out of the situation. We've touched upon it, a few times. I feel like, but it's that important too. Sometimes we kind of know what to do and how to improve our medical aptitude or what skill set we're trying to improve in the operating room, but it can be really tough for us to deal with stress as it's happening. So I think, Jen, just finding a place that you're feeling like you're getting a lot of support, knowing the signs when you're burnt out, and being able to take yourself out of that situation, that's really key. Not just for yourself, but also the people around you.
And sometimes it may be leaving that position. I've had a few friends where, frankly, they were kind of being exploited where they were working, and they found a new job and they're much happier. So you don't necessarily need to leave the profession, but you may need to pivot, switch, go somewhere else where you're not being exploited as much.
Yeah, like especially as a new grad, you're just happy to get a job and start paying off those loans too. But you really have to watch out for certain positions that aren't a right fit, or if they may appear a little bit predatory as well. I've had gigs where they were just really tough. I had a few early on in my career where I broke down in the parking lot thinking that, is this how life is supposed to be? And you finally leave a position for that, and it's not that at all. And you're wondering, oh wow, this all this time I could have been in an environment where I'm flourishing, where I'm actually looking forward to go in for the day too. But everyone has their own journey. They reach that point earlier or later than each other. You just have to make sure that you're consistent with yourself.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Great advice. What is one habit outside of medicine that has made you a better provider?
I think outside of probably say consistency. Just with my personal life, as a more of a natural introvert, I love my routine. It just kind of keeps my head straight. Where I can find that when my routine is off, something is going on awry. Maybe I'm being stressed out from something with work, or I hurt myself in the gym, or relationships with family and friends aren't where they need to be. I find that when I'm dialed in, everything is sort of in sync. I just kind of get this feedback through touching upon for me in my life, what I put in, I like to get out that same output too. So if things are off, then I have to kind of reassess, okay, what exactly is going on, and what do I need to address?
And recalibrate as necessary.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you for joining us so much today. Once again, you can find Ben on Instagram at I am Ben I am. Sounds like a Dr. Seuss thing. And thank you for watching. Make sure you like, subscribe, and tune in. I will be tuning in with Nurse Adrian next week, Saturday, second Saturday of the month. Bye.